There we go. Hello, powerhouses. We got the powerhouses in the building today. And today we're going to be extracting secrets from the widow's oil that's going to help you to build your business, a business that's not only going to help you and your family, but also so that you can reach back and use your experiences to help others. She says in verse 2, Elijah replied to her, "How can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house?" Okay, so one of the things that I want you to see, and this is what I love about what we got going on so far, is she went to someone who knows how to help. Ladies, powerhouses, we got to stop going around telling everybody our business. I get so tired of emptying myself to people who can't change my circumstances. But she went to someone with a proven record. She said, "I'm not going to just sit here and be stuck and helpless. Let me go. Let me go to somebody who I know can help. Somebody who's qualified and credentialed in this type of stuff." You tell me, what do you have in your house? Not come to my house. What do you have in your house? What do you have in your mind? What do you have in your temple? What talents? What gifts? What do you have in your house? What do you have that's profitable? What do you have in your house? And she says, "Your servant has nothing at all." Wait a minute. You don't have nothing? You don't have no furniture? You don't have a car you can sell? You don't have any jewelry you can pawn? You can't go and cook some meals and say, "Come get your plate for $5. You don't have nothing? She can't see. "I have nothing at all." But after a while, she says, "Except what? A small jar of olive oil." Except a small jar of olive oil. Ladies, I'm here to tell you, especially if you are living paycheck to paycheck, especially if you are grieving over a loss, especially if you feel lost and you like, "Oh God, I've been pouring all of my energy and my time and my resources into this family and it's broken, into this dream and it's just not coming true. I just don't have it." My loves, you have a small jar of olive oil. I promise you. I promise you that whatever it is that God is calling you to do, God has already planted a natural affinity for you to do it inside of you. Is there. So once you get through I know I need money, but I don't have the credentials. I don't have the degrees. I dropped out of high school, or I only have a GED. Or God, I feel you calling me to speak, but I don't have $5,000 words. You have a small jar of olive oil. I promise you, you have it. You have it. So Elijah says, "Go around and ask all your neighbors for empty jars, and don't ask for just a few." What I love about this, and this is how you know that she went to the right person. This is how you know she went to someone that is qualified, credential, God's helper, someone worthy, a wise man. Because if it was me and he told me to go around with this small jar of oil, or if I said, "Elijah, listen, all I got is this small jar of oil," I would have looked at that small jar of olive oil and said, "I'm poor. This is all I have left." I would have looked at that small jar of olive oil as a symbol of poverty. But see, Elijah, the wise man, he looked at that small jar of olive oil as a tool of deliverance. That is how I want you to look at your gifts, your purpose, that thing that you might be minimizing. My sons for slavery. On top of that, you want me to go around and market my problems and tell everybody that I'm broke, that I'm about to lose everything, including my sons? They already talking about me. We live in a small community. They already know. They gossiping as it is. Elijah, they see that my grass ain't cut. They see that this door is barely hanging on my front door. They see that I ain't had my nails done in months. I ain't combed my hair in a year. They already know. They see the signs. I can't keep my cell phone on. They see me. They see me. I know I go to work at corporate, but at night they see me driving for Uber. They see me. They already know. And now you want me to go around? Wait a minute, Elijah. You know what's going to happen. And not just a few. I might can do like 3 doors. I might can do like 3 doors. I might can ask 3 of my neighbors. But you want me to ask as many as possible? So you want me to tell everybody my business. That's what you're saying. This is me. This is Queen now. This ain't scripture. You want me to go tell everybody my business. You know, Elijah, some of them gonna be like, Queen, why should I give you one of my empty vessels? You ain't good for it. And here's what I want you to remember. You have to know when it's wiser to just let them win. You gotta know the difference. You gotta have that spirit of discernment. Know when it's wiser to just let them win. So she went around and she asked all her neighbors for empty jars. And she didn't just ask for a few. Elijah told her after she did that, as she go around and ask all her neighbors for these jars, put a business out there. He told her then, go inside and shut the door behind you and in Psalms 23, it says, thou anoints my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Oil. Let me tell you about oil. So in Psalms 23, David uses the analogy of a shepherd, right, to represent God. Shepherds, what they would do is they would take the oil and they would put it on the head of their sheep for protection. Stay with me. Because the sheep flies, insects, but their head, they needed to protect their heads. Sometimes they'll stick their heads through gates and they get cuts and scrapes. It's okay because the oil is already there and the oil has healing properties. Sometimes the sheep would gallop along and they would stick their head inside of holes because they're curious little creatures and they'll stick their head inside of oils. And sometimes a snake would bite them. Well, if the snake launched at them, sometimes the snakes would slide off because of the oil, but just in case they were able to latch on, the oil could mix with the venom and help to relieve the poison. Thou anoints my head with oil. When you look at oil here, I want you to think of your speech, your talk as oil. It is protection for somebody else. It is how you verbally inoculate the world. It is how you verbally inoculate the people that you are called to speak to. So what is your oil? What is your oil? Listen, Elijah, I have nothing inside my house except a small jar of oil. That's all I have, Leah. That's all I have. Love, that's all I have. Joy and Renita, Chanel. Hey, Dr. Mary, Sandra, all I have is this small jar of oil. My words are going to protect the world. It's going to protect other teenagers from getting pregnant in high school. It's going to protect my young son from STDs. I'm going to verbally inoculate the world. Thou anoints my head with oil.
You better grab pen and paper. You better grab pen and paper. Turn around and tell your neighbor, yeah, you better grab pen and paper. You better grab pen and paper. Time to see what you are made of. You better grab pen and paper. This the stuff that dreams are made of. Let's go.
And while I am doing this, someone please unmute and share the one rule that we have here on this platform.
Never pass up the opportunity to take them on.
Hey, Undie, you snuck in on me. That's right. Never pass up the opportunity to take the mic. Praise God. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, so let's go in here. I want to get into these secrets very quickly. Feel free to screenshot anything, take pictures of anything that I have here on this screen. It is yours for the taking. Let's see if I can get this here. Let's move this over there and bam. Okay. The first thing I need for you to do is I need for you to identify your oil. And so you're going to say, well, Queen, how can I identify my oil? Okay. What I need for you to do is find a quiet space, and I need for you to list out everything you've been through in life, all of your trials, all of your struggles, pains. List them all out, because everything that you have gone through, you went through it for a reason. And those things, that small jar of oil, these things, these problems that you went through, you can reach back and you can help other people because you've been through it. And the beautiful thing about it is that you don't have to close any knowledge gaps. Many of you don't have to close any knowledge gaps to help women who are grieving. You've been through it. You know what to say. When I lost my twins, one of the dumbest things at the time, I thought it was the dumbest thing to say to somebody who had just lost twins. Someone came to me and said they're in a better place. I lost it. I lost it. But if someone were to come to me right now and say I lost twins or I lost a child, I believe that I can help them. I don't have to go and read a whole bunch of books. I ain't got to close a lot of knowledge gaps because I've been through it. I know the feelings. I know the dumb things that people say. I know the great things that people say. I know strategies that help me to get through it. And not that it would be a blueprint for that person, but at least they're with somebody who understands, right? So list all those great things out, because there in your list, your talks are in there. That's your common stuff. That's going to help you to connect with the people. And then after that, I want you to list at least 3 gifts or skills that you've been underestimating. Bridget Jordan is on here. I was on Facebook and she can garden. I saw her garden. I was like, listen, if I get her address, I am going to drive by her house and I'm going to give me some collard greens out her yard. She has a green thumb, right? And I'm not saying that Bridget underestimates that, but what skills have you been underestimating? Like, for example, I know that one of my gifts is that I know how to make complex things simple. I don't sell trigonometry. I break things down to kindergarten level. And that's a gift because people don't need rocket science, right? So the first thing I want you to do, this is the first actionable step I want you to do once we get off this call, is to identify your oil. And there, in your trials, in your struggles, in your gifts, you're going to find your small jar of oil, that thing that you need to market to the world in order to protect the world, in order to advance the kingdom. Anybody want to unmute and share any thoughts about this first secret? Okay. And as
How
I
do you?
go, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just trying to make sure to unmute. So yeah, when you talk about identifying your oil, for me, I know that I'm a good communicator and connector.
Mm,
I've always been that connecting force with whether it be home or whether it be business. So right now, I'm using my platform to be that connector for people to understand finances.
yeah,
So um,
I love that.
that's a
A great example. And for those of you who were here when Aunt Deneen gave her story of her struggles of finances and how she came to be the tax whisperer that she is today, you will absolutely, when we go into the breakthrough rooms, if she's there, please connect with her and ask her story, or go back to YouTube and watch the replay. She gave a lot of great nuggets in it when she was a speaker on this platform. Thank you so much for sharing, Deneen. Anybody else?
I have one.
Go ahead, Renita.
Hey, everybody. I'm Renita. I am a journalist by trade. I just decided to, not just, but I've been out of the business now since my last contract ended last month. and I've been launching my business. Part of it's speaking. The big thing that I speak about the most is fear.
Mm,
And one of the fundamental truths that I go through in my speech on fear is that a lot of times where our fears lie are our areas of influence.
that's
So
right.
maybe it could be a way for in the quiet time to find out where your fears are, because that could possibly be where your oil is. And I know mine was in helping people conquer fear.
I love that. Renita, you know Tony Robbins, when he first came out, that was his niche. He was a fear coach. He helped folks to get over their phobias.
That.
Remember that? Mm-hmm. Look at that.
Oh,
And if you his story, I'm not gonna go into it because I'll go into a spiral. But go and look it up and specifically look up how he cured this woman of her phobia of snakes by wrapping an anaconda around her, and she had this fear of snakes for like almost all of her life. So you can go in and see that. But what I loved about what Renita just shared is that she's absolutely right. Your growth, your next level lies outside of your comfort zone. If you are not working outside of your comfort zone, then you are in your coffin zone. You're in your dead zone. All right. We got to get you outside of your comfort zone. So thank you for sharing that, love. Okay. So let's go to number 2. And if I go to a different secret and you're like, oh, I just got something about the first one, please, when it's time, unmute and share. We want to hear it. Okay.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead, love.
I wanted to say, don't give up.
Yes. Don't
Don't give up.
don't give up.
If you're at that door and it seems like it's not going to work or something dismantles, don't give up. Pick up, keep going.
That's right. And pray. And that's when you got to lean on God the hardest. I think about Moses with the Israelites behind him right there at the Red Sea. If it was me, I probably would have been like, all right, I messed up. Everybody go home. Let's turn around. But what did he do? By the grace of God, that Red Sea parted, right? Don't give up. Don't give up. Thank you so much for sharing that live. Never pass up the opportunity to take the mic. All right, secret number 2, borrow empty jars. See, Elijah told the widow to borrow jars, and he said not just a few, but as many as possible. Don't give up when one bank says no. Don't give up when 3 banks says no. Walt Disney said that he went to 200 banks before he got the approval before he got the funds for Disney World. 200. 200? Your yes is someone. Keep going. Just like Lav just shared, don't give up. And when you think about jars, like it says here, I want you to think about the opportunities, the connections, and the potential. I did a speech once. Many of you heard the story. One time I was asked to be a speaker, and it was a platform where there was like maybe 15 speakers. So I was only going to have 5 minutes. And so when I got there, originally they had said that there were going to be about 100 people there. When I got there, I noticed that there were only 6 folks there in the audience. And it was pretty, it was pretty much a letdown. But when I saw that the other speakers were leaving, I saw an empty jar. I saw an opportunity. I went to the promoters and I said, hey, it's only like 6 people here. And I see a lot of speakers saying it ain't worth it for them to stay. So they're leaving. I said, can I have that person's 5 minutes and that person's 10 minutes? And that next thing you know, I had a whole hour with just these 6 people. And the first thing I did when I went out there, I was already dressed. I said, hey, listen, I'm prior service military. In the military, we do what's called a U formation. And so when I get down to 1, I want you to take your chairs and form them around me. 10, 9, 8. And I got to 1 and they had these chairs like a little small circle around me. And I just gave them a talk. And I just went in and I was like, you know what? I'm so glad all these other people left because I'm here for you. I'm supposed to, blah, 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 blah. I went into my whole thing. And when it was over with, one of the ladies was a journalist like you, Renita. She offered me a spot on Motivational Mondays on her newscast, right? Because I seized that opportunity. So I want you, for your second step, I want you to write down as many people and platforms you can connect with. There are a lot of podcasts out there. that will allow you to come and speak on their platforms for free. And what I love about that is that it gives you the practice and it gives you the social proof that you need for your speaker focused business. And when you are on podcast, for example, you don't have to market to do that. You just show up for the podcast, you speak for 5 to 10 minutes. And when you're done, that podcast host is then going to take that episode, roll it up, attach all these SEOs to it. SEOs are search engine optimization words so that people can find you. And the next thing you know, you're becoming more and more Googleable. Now, I go up under Queen Aza because my name is Queen Adela Aza, but for the longest, I only use my middle name and my last name. And I would sit and I would just do podcasts. I used to have my office here. I used to have a purple sofa right over here. And I would schedule all my podcasts back to back. And it was pre-recorded. And I would go and I would wake up and I do one podcast. I go lay down. I wake up. I say just about the same thing on the next one. And I would just do it back to back to back for a few days, saying the same thing. And then it will help to boost my SEOs. And my marketing team didn't have to do all that work because their companies would do it. Any thoughts about borrowing empty jars before I go on? Unmute. The mic is yours. Okay. All right. So, secret 3, shut the door and pour. Elijah told her to shut the door and pour the oil in private because a lot of the miracles, not all, but often miracles happen in private spaces. So this week, I need for you to go in. I need you to get it, open up your calendar, and I need for you to actually put on your calendar, schedule when you're going to shut the door and you're going to pour into your private business, your speaking business. All right. Or put in when you're going to start refining your skills, or, you should be praying over your vision daily. So, you don't need to schedule that. That should be automatic. That should be a habit, especially when you're in the shower. Before you get out of the shower, just pray over your vision. One of the things I do to shut the door and pour is that I take staycations. I will check into the local hotel here with about 5 or 6 books. I'm in seminary school as well, so a lot of times I take those books as well. And I will read, if it's a book from like Barnes and Nobles, I just read the first and last paragraph of every chapter. First and last paragraph of every chapter. And I love to try to connect the dots in between. And I just take a nice staycation. And then I sit and I pray and I order Uber Eats. I'm not cooking, I'm not going anywhere. And I just relax. So I want you to think of ways, creative ways that you can just shut the door and pour, where you're not distracted by the television and the phones. I mean, just that is something that Bill Gates does as well. He actually goes off into a cottage with a stack of books and you can't reach him through technology. He just sits there and he reads and he reads. If you are someone who is not a reader, because reading is not the only way to shut the door and pour, but there's just one way. If you're not a reader, there are apps like Blinkist where you can just download the app and it just gives you the highlights of 1,001 books and you just get it like in 20 minutes and you're like, okay, I got it. Any thoughts or insights about shutting the door and pouring? I like to shut the door and pour and go to Bridget's garden. Just take me a nice little glass of Welch's grape juice and just sit there in the garden next to all those beautiful greens and just relax. Any other thoughts about I'll
come anytime.
and I'm gonna come with a nice little grocery bag so I can get me some of those greens and tomatoes. Anybody else? Any thoughts about shutting the door and pouring? Okay.
I actually have a question.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
let me unmute my camera.
Go ahead.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, beautiful.
Hi, thank you. My question is, because I've been just like listening in and I'm wanting to create a business, but through like Christ, like I don't want to just create my own like business that is not gonna live on God's will. So my question is like what should I like I know I should read through the scripture and like pray upon the scripture as well, but like what should I focus on when starting like a brand new business, because I'm still building it, me and God. I just don't know, like I just have to like figure out more of the like smaller stuff because I'm very much in the beginning stages. So like I just want to know how I can like talk
Get
to God
started.
about this. Like where I should start off doing since you are a successful business owner so far.
I love this. This is a great question. Thank you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth wants to know, she wants to start a business that aligns with God, and she wants to know what are some of the things she should do to start off. Let me say this. One, everything that we're going through right here is going to help you if you actually actionize it, if you're obedient and you do it. But here's what I want all of you to keep in mind. The first thing you have to ask yourself, whether you're starting a business, whether you're writing a presentation, is what problem does this business solve? What problem does this business solve? What problem does this speech solve? What problem does this podcast solve? Because if your business, if whatever it is you are doing does not solve a problem, you do not have a business. If you write a book and it don't solve a problem, you don't have a book. It has to solve a problem. And then ask yourself, who does it solve a problem for? One of the first things I did, I have several books that are unfinished, but one of the things that I did for each one of them is I wrote my reader a love letter, telling them why I wrote the book and how the book is going to transform their lives. Write a love letter to the people that you believe that you're called to help, and that love letter needs to say how this business, how this book, how this podcast, how this presentation is going to help them and transform their lives. And if you're not sure about the problem you're called to solve, if we go right back over here to the first slide, identifying your oil, list out the trials and struggles and pains. Because whatever it is that you're called to do, 9 times out of 10, God has already planted whatever, it's already inside of you. It's already inside of you. And I'm gonna choose my words carefully. I was a sexual assault response coordinator for many years, and so I know that certain words can trigger. But for women who have been sexually assaulted, molested, and it is very rare that I find a woman that has not been affected by it. If I find if a woman comes to me and she says she's been affected by these things, and she's able to teach from a place of wings and not the womb that she's gone through, one of the first things is I say is, don't waste that trauma. Don't waste that trauma. If you went through it, use it to help other people. That is a problem that you can solve, and you can turn it into a business. And you're not taking advantage of people when you make money from things like that, because you didn't create the problem. But it takes real resources to actually get out and to help people. If I felt like I was called to help people in socially economically challenged areas who are struggling with sickness, I wouldn't want to just send them tissue and Kleenex. I would want to fund the research. I would want to fund whatever is necessary to get the cures, right? And that takes money. And that's why you wrap the problem into a business, so that you can really affect change. You ain't got to go buy gold Lamborghinis and put elevators in your house. But what you do with the money makes all the difference. All right. So ask yourself, my love, what problem are you called to solve? And then pray and meditate and say, God, please order my steps. I'm here. I volunteer for this army. I volunteer. Order my steps. All right. Does that help you, love?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much
You're welcome.
for saying that.
You're welcome. Okay. Shut the door and pour. We did that one already. Yes. Okay. All right. So secret number 4, faith and action go hand in hand. I want you to remember that the oil only flowed as long as there were jars to fill. God multiplies what we bring in faith. God don't do math like how we do math. He takes 2 fish and 5 loaves, and that equals 5,000. Feed 5,000 with 2 fish and 5 loaves? How is that possible? He don't do math like we do math. Bible says that, our ways are not his ways and our thoughts are not his thoughts. It's the way that we try to wrap our mind around how he does things. I gave up a long time ago. What? You want me to go get jars? And somehow this little small container of olive oil is going to fill out. Okay, God, I got it. Because I know you don't do math like how I do math. So from this right here, I want to remind you that we serve a powerful God, a God who has no limits. So stop asking him. Stop asking him, God, please help me pay my bills this month. You can do that on your own. God, help me get a house. Raise your darn credit score. You can get a house. You can get a house. You can get a car. Those are things I promise you, you can do it on your own. One of my vehicles I got, my credit score was like, I think a 505. I think it was like a 5 something at the time. It seems like in my moments of confinement, in my moments of prison, my moments of desperation, it seems like I acquired the most stuff because I was hungry. Sit back and make some bold requests from God. Some bold requests. All right. Any thoughts about this? Any thoughts about secret number 4? Insights that you like to contribute
Well,
to?
I will say,
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You know me. You give
Oh
me the
no,
mic.
please. I love it.
I would say, kind of back to you guys that we're encouraging you to step out and do what God has called you to do. When I stepped out and did what God has called me to do, faith over facts, right? Sometimes I can look at my bank account. It's not what it was when I was in corporate America.
Mhm.
My fact says it's not. My faith says I haven't missed a meal or a bill. God will provide if you walk in his design purpose for your life. When I tell you I'm a living testimony on it, it is what it is, right? Because for me, I wanted to be director of Citigroup. And I was one step away from it, one step, because that's what I wanted. It was not what God wanted for my life. So I was underutilizing my oil. Once you step in your oil and your purpose and you figure out what that is, I'm telling you, faith over facts works.
I love that, Aunt D. Faith over facts.
Thank you.
It just reminds me of, most of you know my story. I was a teenager with a speech impediment. I remember when I went into the Navy before I went into the Army, and I would speak to my shipmates, and I would have to give them orders, and I would just stutter my way through the instructions, and I would feel so ashamed. And then for some reason, God planted this desire, this calling in me to be a speaker. And I'm like, no, not me. I can't even get through a sentence. And I remember I would go to the rooms where we would have meetings, because these were the rooms where I would feel the most ashamed, because they would always ask me to give a report on something. And I used to hate it, because I was like, I know deep down inside, they're going to laugh at me. They're going to talk about me. And I would sit there in the meetings and I would just shrink. And so I would just go into these rooms, and I would just, while they were empty and nobody was there, and I would just pray like, God, please, please deliver me. Please, please, please. Yeah. And by the grace of God, I have been delivered. Absolutely. So I want to encourage you, loves. Go ahead. You may not know what you're going to talk about now. You may not know how you're going to do it. But I need for you to open up your calendar and say, January 26th or something, I'm going to launch my first speaking event. February 1st, I'm going to launch my first social media platform. Whatever it is God is calling you to do, go ahead and start collecting your jars. All right. Thank you so much, Auntie.
Coach,
no
can I
problem.
add something?
Queen,
Go ahead.
if I
Yes,
may.
please. Please.
I'm experiencing this now, the faith over faith and
Facts.
action.
Faith in action.
When you take the action in faith, God will even start doing stuff for yourself. He would start healing you and showing you newer ideas just from the faith. The business will expand. The people will come in, just like how I got on your line today out of all the emails. So that's another, even for the young lady, when
Yeah.
she goes out, just do it. God will just start opening other doors for you and for the business. Amen.
Amen. In scripture, it says, seek first the kingdom and righteousness, and everything else will be given to you. That's the formula. I already said, as humans, we can't wrap our head around that. You mean to tell me, God, if I want my bills paid, I don't go out and get a better job? I don't go out and find another job that I can't stand in corporate? You want me to seek first the kingdom and righteousness and all that other stuff that I ain't even asked for? It's just going to be given to me? That's how the formula works. But see, that's where we mess up. We go in and we seek the other stuff. We seek all these things first. Then after we got the house and the car and all these other things, then we say, okay, God, now I have time to go to church. Now I have time to pray. Now I want to seek kingdom and righteousness. We're out of order. We're out of order. So you're absolutely right. Thank you so much, Laugh. Go, you got something you want to say, Renita? Go ahead, love.
I do. I cherish my quiet time with God in the
Mm,
morning when I am diligent about waking up and allowing myself to, shut off the phone and get quiet and talk to God. He actually gives me strategy for the day. He gives me different business ideas. And there was a time in my life where I was so diligent with it, which I'm getting back to, where God would show me the spreadsheets. He would show me the ideas, the things to draw. And I would do that like right after that, or I would do it at the end of the day. I would come back home and do it. So it's key to have that quiet time with your oil. But I really wanted to encourage Elizabeth. Is she still
mhm.
on or just
Yeah,
changed
she's
my
on. Go ahead.
to encourage Elizabeth
Hi.
because I remember when 4 years ago, or really more than 4 years ago, probably about 8 years ago this time, or 8 or 7 years ago, where I was like, God, I don't want to do this anymore. I was working for a TV station in New York, got my dream job. Okay. And that was the first checkpoint where I started to feel like I didn't want to do this anymore. Um, and actually, this was 4 years ago. This was the second checkpoint where I didn't know and what God told me to do was start writing down the things that I love doing, the things that people ask me for, and the things that I do well. And I
Mm,
started keeping a list of those things for like a whole year. And that was the list that ultimately became my business. So
and that
that's,
is so easy to do. Yes.
yeah, that was a super
Mhm.
practical way I did it. Thanks to God, He gave me that idea because I was so all over the place with God. I don't want to do this anymore. So, what can I do? How can I put together these unique gifts that you gave me into a business?
I love that.
That
I
helps a
think
little.
that that is an amazing tip, Renita. And it's important that you write these things down, especially the easy, non-complex things, because things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. And then what we'll do is we'll say, "Oh, that's so easy to do. I'll just store it here in my filing cabinet." And you don't have it on paper anywhere. And the next thing you know, this year looks like next year, and the next year looks like next year because you didn't take actionable steps. So
Yeah, I
thank you
kept
so much for sharing that, Renita.
You're welcome. I kept it a note on my phone.
On your,
Like
oh,
add
I
to
love that.
every other day, whatever, whenever God shows you something that you can do. Uh,
Absolutely.
it's transcendent of industry. So don't think about the industry that you want to be in. I had
Mhm.
to disconnect from journalism and just
Yeah.
notice, well, okay, I'm done. Thank you.
No, that was perfect. Thank you. Never pass up the opportunity to take the mic. Thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Thank you for the encouragement too. Thank you.
Yes.
And when you guys get in the breakout room, please connect even more. I love this. I love this. So, secret number 5, we have 2 more to go after this one. Secret number 5 is to manage your resource wisely. We all know how damaging debt can be. The widow, she was instructed to sell the oil, pay her debts, and live on the rest. This was not just about provision, but it was a business strategy that she was given. And so this was right on time with what Renita was sharing about actionable steps. I want you guys, as far as actionable steps, I want you to think of it this way. If your goal was to make $10,000, how many of you could use an extra $10,000 in the next 30 days? Let me show you how easy it is. If you wanted to make $10,000, the only thing you would need to do is find 40 people to invest $250 in your services. 40 people, $250. Find 40 people to invest $250 in your services, and that equals $10,000. Now, the next question is, what problem, because I already brought up the problem, what problem can I solve for $250? That will be your next question. Listen, my loves, not that it is impossible, because it works for the dollar store. We got to get away from selling these $4 jars of cocoa butter and trying to build $1 million strategy off that. That's absolutely fine, especially we're talking about mass production. You get a contract with Walmart, you're in there, right? But there's nothing wrong with selling premium products. Right now, there is somebody out there who will empty their bank accounts for you to come help them to solve a problem that you have already solved for them, for yourself. I promise you. And it's not about exploiting them. It's not.
Yeah.
I met a woman once who was like, I was a horrible mama. I was on drugs, and now my kids won't talk to me. But now I've recovered. I got my life together. I got a good job. I got money. I got a working cell phone, but I don't have nobody to call. I got a house, but my kids won't come visit me. I am going to die alone. If you were in that situation and I could help you and you had your checkbook out, how much would you write a check for me to solve that problem? To get your kids back, so you can be in your grandkids' life, so you can feel love and have support. It's not about exploiting. You didn't create the problem. Or you might say, well, I want to find 40 people to pay me $250 for 10,000. You might say, I want to find 20 people to pay me $500. Then solve a $500 problem. Right now, I have a vision plan for a $1 million problem that I can solve for people. If somebody come to me and say, Queen, I want to pay you $1 million. What can you do for me? Okay, I can solve these problems right here. You might say, well, I don't want to start off with 10K. That's fine. 5K. Find 520 people to pay you about $175. Start off small if you want to. All right. Any thoughts about managing your resources wisely? And when you get in the breakout room, if Aunt D is still here, get in there and milk her brain. As a matter of fact, Aunt D has a program. I don't pitch you or sell you on this platform. But Aunt
Queen,
D,
if I may,
go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
I
perfect.
didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't have a comment on that, but I just wanted to, tell you thank you for inviting me into the class. And hello to everyone. This is my first time. I am so enjoying this lesson, and I love when I can, receive some knowledge, some nuggets that I can use or share. And this is really touching to me, Queen, because as you know, I am a widow
Yeah.
and a recent one. And I truly pray and hope that everyone gets their desires that's on this line that's trying to build a business. I'm normally just the silent listener. I'm not going into business or anything, but anytime I can get the word of God in there, I'm there. And I love it. And Queen is such a blessing to
Thank you.
see how you have just blossomed,
Thank you.
blossomed.
Thank you.
And I love you, and I will definitely be a continued person online with you, a silent listener. Thank you.
Praise God. Thank you. Thank you for taking the mic. Like I say, I'm happy to have you however we can. And I am just so grateful that you opened up and shared that, you have a lot in common with this story here that we're talking about. So if you're still here during the breakout rooms, if any of you ladies that also have a journey that's similar to Bridget, please connect and share and talk and cry or laugh or whatever God is pulling you to do. Thank you so much for sharing, Bridget. Okay, yeah, so let's keep going here. Okay, so number 6, your community is a part of the miracle. All right. One of the things that you can absolutely do is to immerse yourself in the sector that you want to go in. Let me give you a nudge. The human race wants to be successful in three categories. I don't care who you are, you all want to be successful in these three categories. You want to be successful with health, you want to be successful in wealth, money, wealth, and you also want to be successful in your relationships. Health, wealth, and relationships. Health, wealth, and relationships are the three things that you want to be successful in. And so if you can at least niche down what it is that you're called to do to the arena of health or wealth or relationships, and you can take it from any vantage point that you like, for example, I had vegan restaurants. So I very well could talk about wealth, how you can make money in the restaurant business, or I could talk about health, about being plant-based, either one, right? So health, wealth, or relationships, niche it down. So what I would then do, if I figured out, for example, if I said, well, I want to be in the relationship business, well, I would go into social media and I would use technology to my advantage. Just like how Renita was talking about how she used her cell phone to record her notes. I would go to social media and Facebook, and I would join as many groups as I possibly could that had something to do with this sector. I want to immerse myself in the language of my next level. I want to start meeting people and seeing what other people are doing. I already said iron sharpens iron. Through their exposure, it's going to help your business to grow. It's going to give you ideas. All right. This is a part of your journey to collect those empty jars. Any thoughts about this right here? Any thoughts about Secret Six? Go ahead, Leah. Yeah.
So this is something that I wrote down at the very beginning before you started giving us your secrets. And I've seen it kind of apply to step one, secret one and all of them. And then now even this talking about the community. But for me, it was sometimes we have to borrow our faith, just like she had to go seek Elijah to kind of help her out. And sometimes we have to seek those godly people to remind us of who we are. Sometimes you get in the dumps, you're trying and trying, and you forget not just who you are in Christ, but who he has called you to be, what he has called you to do. And, I use those silly little catchphrases all the time. If he brings you to it, he'll bring you through it.
Through it, yes.
God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. All those little nuggets, that I heard in church many years ago. But again, just reminding ourselves that sometimes you have to borrow your faith and connecting with the right people, your community, even like managing your resources. I feel like this is a very valuable resource for me to get connected to you, but also keep my spiritual level intact too, to keep reminding me who I am, what I'm doing, and that this is for the greater good, and that no matter what weapon is formed against me, it will not prosper. Just all the things just kind of pouring in. So just wanted to add that here.
Thank you, Leah. That's right. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Doesn't mean that the weapon won't form. It'll form. It'll come at you. It absolutely will, but it just won't prosper. I love that. And the other piece, I love everything you said, Leah, but the other piece of community is the built-in accountability. Sometimes I'd be like, I don't feel like going to Bible study tonight. I don't feel like going to church. But because I belong to a community, one of my closest friends, Susan, she'll call me and be like, you going to Bible study? And I'd be like, I just said I wasn't going, but I belong to a community. And they're always calling me, and without them knowing it, they're holding my feet to the fire. So whenever I feel myself veering off the path, it's hard because I'm surrounded by a bunch of kingdom-minded folks, right? Even on my social media, Facebook, I'm surrounded by it. So yes, my loves, community is so important. Any other thoughts about community? Thank you so much, Leah. Okay, now here's the last one. You got to trust in God's abundance. I absolutely love that the oil stopped flowing only when there were no more jars. And also what I love about this story is that it's just a reminder that we serve a powerful God that cares about broken people like me, who still takes time out for me, right? To address my problems. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Coach Gwen. I was trying to unmute when you were talking about community.
Oh, please
And
go ahead.
So I was just wanting to go back with kind of what everybody's kind of saying is
Mhm.
like, for me, you have to surround yourself with people that also want to see you doing good if they're not.
Mhm.
You
Oh.
have to surround yourself around people that are willing to pray with you when you can't. You have to surround yourself around people that even iron sharpens iron. You can learn from. There's sometimes when my godchildren, because I don't have children that were born out of my flesh, but my godchildren will minister to me about something. And they're like, well, you always said you wanted to be an entrepreneur. I said, I did. What? What? You always encourage us. I did it. So, sometimes you have to, out of the mouths of babes, sometimes, so just make sure that you have a positive circle. If you're around Debbie Downers or to doubting Thomases, you're not going to get any higher than that circle. And my granddaddy used to say all the time, if you're the smartest person in the room, you
Mm,
need to find another room.
that's
The
right.
biggest room is the room for improvement. So that's all I wanted to say.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Aunt D. Anybody else got something they want to say about community? Okay, thank you. I love that. And let me say that yeah, I feel very blessed that I'm surrounded by people who will tell me the truth to my face, but yet they'll pray about me behind my back. And even in the community, because here's mixed energies. Some people will hurt your feelings, but you cannot let that knock you off, my loves. Like, stay in the game. It comes with the territory, right? So, okay, here we go. So, secret seven, trust in God's abundance. That is, um, this is your opportunity, especially as you build your business, to really jump into Ephesians and put on the full armor of God. So, my loves, I want you to really focus on your vision and actually write it out. Proverbs says, write it down and make it plain so that he that readeth can run with it, right? I need for you to actually write out your vision and ask for some big stuff, like some scary, like stuff. When I enlisted in the army, I came in as an E3 because I was prior service Navy, and so when I came over to the Army, some of the rank transferred over. But when I came in, I knew that I wanted values. I knew that I wanted leadership experience. I knew I just wanted to be able to feed my son because I was a teen mom. I wanted to feed my son. But if God had told me when I enlisted that I was going to retire as the first African American female in field artillery history to earn the rank of first sergeant, I'd have been like, nope, I'm not going. I'm not doing it. Me, not happening. But it happened. So, my loves, I want you to write something down in your vision from your wheelhouse. I mean, it'll shift, it'll change more than likely, it'll become fluid, but write it down and put it somewhere where you can see it. My mom used to say, out of sight, out of mind. Like, you should pass it every day. I got a vision there. I got a vision going down my stairs. I got a vision statement right there by my door. So and I got it in my visor of my car, so that when people cut me off, I remember to act. Okay, remember, you make mistakes on the road too. Don't chew that person off out. This is who you are. This is your vision. You gotta stay in alignment with that person. All right. So secret number seven, which should have been secret number one, you gotta trust in God. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. So when you write that vision down, no matter how spooky it seems, my loves, I need for you to say, okay, God, I trust you. What are my steps? Either you can do it, either you believe in God, either you believe in Christ, and you believe that all things are possible through him, or you don't. It's just as simple as that. All right. Any other thoughts on this before I close out?
I
Thoughts,
was,
insights. Go ahead, love.
oh, yes, I was going to say that I've heard it translated before that the woman believed that she could get so much. And so that's the amount of jars that she got.
Mm-hmm.
The translation was like, God will bless us according to how deep or how high or how wide our faith is. He's always going to bless us more than that. But if you believe for more, then even go over that.
Yeah.
So in the way that the woman, brought a certain amount of jars. If she brought more, God would have blessed her. If she bought fewer, then the oil would have stopped there too.
Yeah.
That, I don't know, just putting it together in my
Oh
brain.
no, yeah, and you can even go deeper and you can say, well, what if she wouldn't have collected the jars? Because it wasn't about the jars. I don't want you guys to get so hung up on the jars. It wasn't about the fact that she had jars. It was about the obedience. It is all about the obedience. For you, it may be something else. And you might be like, I got to do what? God, you want me to do this? And it may not make sense to you, but it is about the obedience. Okay, loves. Listen, I want to give y'all about 10 minutes in the breakout room. Just 10 minutes. Go in, talk to each other. Yes. Oh, Liz putting some good stuff in the chat. I see. Go in, network with each other, and then we'll bring you right on back. You're going to self-select your rooms. The rooms are open now. You just take your mouse and hover over the room you want to go in and click join. That's all you have to do. And you can hop around. Remember, when you get in the room, don't pass up the opportunity to take the mic, but don't hog the mic. And definitely stay on subject. Don't talk about the birds in the sky if you should be talking about speaking stages, all right? So you can go into one room and talk about speaking ideas or how to get on stages. You can either ask questions about it, or you can pour into the room and say, this is how I got a speaking gig once. You can go in and talk about content creation ideas. You can go into the gratitude and prayer room. I love the gratitude room. Go in. I'm grateful for this. It may be personal or professional. You may want to talk about a book you wrote, a book you read, a book you recommend, or a podcast that you love, or a podcast you're going to start. And you might just want to go into the networking room, but they're open. You got 10 minutes. Go ahead and jump on in the rooms, loves. If you need help getting into the room, all you have to do is unmute and just say which room you want to go in. Or you can just type it in the text, in the chat. Either you want to go into the speaking room. Leah is already in the networking room. Great job, Leah. You may want to go in the books room, podcast room, gratitude, prayer room, ideas room, or content creation ideas room, or speaking ideas and stages room. Take your time, choose a room. Or you can absolutely unmute and tell me to put you in the room and I got you. But remember, you can hop around.
Hello, Coach.
Hey.
I don't know how to get into a room. I don't see it, but
Oh,
I would
I
like
got
to.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
Which room?
I heard you say podcast because I don't see like the list.
Okay, I got you.
Thank you.
So fast. All right, beaming you up now.
Okay.
It may ask you
Thank
to
you so
join,
much.
but it should just beam you up. We'll see. Anybody else need assistance?
Oh, okay, hi. I came in late. This is Janie. Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, love.
And I'm trying to go to the Pumpcast, but I'm on a different device, so it may take me a minute. So if you are able, I mean, I know you're able to do so, but if you take me in, I got it. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, Coach.
I'm trigger happy. Bye-bye. I'm so glad to see, or kind of see you, Dr. Mary. I kind of see
so
you.
much. Have a good day.
All right, you too, love. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you.
This was great.
Oh, thank you, my love. Bless you. God bless you. Bye-bye.
You better grab pen and paper. You better grab pen and paper. Turn around and tell your neighbor, yeah, you better grab pen and paper. You better grab pen and paper. Time to see what you are made of. You better grab pen and paper. This the stuff that dreams are made of.